Hi, it's time for my September TBR video, and it's another one that is just absolutely packed with ARCs that are all due out in September because I'm still trying to catch up. One day I will be. So yeah, and also I am going to try to join in with Sci-Fi September. Now I've seen a few people pop up on my YouTube feed talking about Sci-Fi September, and that kind of made me then go and search for the original people and the hosts and all that. I will link those down below. There is a bingo board for Sci-Fi September, but I am probably not going to. I'm not even going to attempt to complete it because there's 16 prompts, and sci-fi is such a big category, and there's certain things that I don't like, so I don't really read books about aliens. Time travel isn't something I'm particularly interested in, so yeah, I'm gonna just try and whatever books I read that happen to be sci-fi, I'm gonna slot in somewhere and see what I can do, but I'm not gonna push myself for it, because it seems that 2021 is all about stepping back a little bit, and it's been working so far. So the first book that I'm going to read actually is sci-fi, and I already had this planned for this month, so it's perfect. It's called Five Minds by Guy Morpus. So basically it's set in the future where the population is just huge and we need to control it somehow. So they have limited people's lives to a maximum of 80 years. And then I presume they just like kill you off. However, if you volunteer your body and your mind to be a commune, you get an extra 150 years on of life. And by a commune, what I mean is that other people's minds can share your body. And each mind gets to live, not live, but like be present for up to 4 hours each day or at a time. Yeah, so it sounds vaguely like a thriller that I read that was like based on multiple personality disorder, because this main character has got 5 minds that share his body, and one of the minds or personalities gets killed off, and the other minds in the body aren't sure if it was one of them that did it. So it does sound very familiar. That was called All of Us by A.R. Carter. So yeah, it sounds a bit like that. It sounds quite intriguing and quite, I want to say unique, but obviously there's another book like that. But yeah, so sci-fi, obviously. And then the next book that I'm going to be reading is right. So it's a book about the whole coronavirus pandemic. If I'd have said 2 years ago I was going to read a book about a virus outbreak that sweeps across the world, takes people by surprise, destroys economies, kills off millions of people, you would have gone, oh, you're going to read a sci-fi book about a virus outbreak, are you? Well, no. Right now it's a non-fiction. It's been written by Keith Wright, and the information I've been given is that it's kind of like a timeline, but very detailed, of coronavirus across the world, but mainly in the UK. And we get to see right from the beginning. And I know I've lived through it, so I kind of know what happened. There's, no surprises going to happen. But there will be information that I've forgotten. There will be information that I missed, with regards to the government and what different people said about it. But it says that there's also some personal stories in there of different people from different points of view who have either worked with COVID or have experienced COVID, things like that. So that sounds really, really interesting. And is it a bit morbid? But I think it's going to be one of those books, if it's well written, if I find that it's really well written and really informative, I was thinking of purchasing the actual physical copy of the book to keep in like a memory box where we've kept other stuff related to COVID, the newspapers and letters from school and tests and things like that. So yeah, I think it's going to be like a hard read, both the fact that there's going to be a lot of science and facts in it, but also a hard read emotionally and remembering everything that people have gone through. But yeah, I am actually looking forward to it. And another sci-fi book that I'd already planned on reading this month is Gifton by Layla Susan. This is dystopian, which is a subgenre of sci-fi. So basically it's set in a future where I think there's been like climate changes and all that kind of stuff, because it talks about society really struggling to survive in parched lands, and having to like really toil for the food to grow. Now, our main character has got some kind of special gift where she has the ability to grow food from dead soil. So that's where it gets sort of sounds a little bit fantasy as well. Like she's got some magical power. Now there is like a dark army in some kind of city that has this like kind of idea that they are going to hunt down the people with this gift so that they can, I guess, harness their powers, and they can control food growth and thus then control population completely. So the main character has to leave her village and her friends and family behind, set off on some kind of quest, it says. I'm assuming it's to bring down the army, I don't know. Again, it sounds a little fantasy that she goes on a quest. But I've dabbled a little bit in fantasy recently, as you've seen, and I enjoyed it. So even though it's tagged as dystopian, I think it's also like a mix of the genres, and it sounds really interesting. I think it's going to be YA as well, even though I'm not sure on that right now. But again, that goes for Sci-Fi September. Next up, I have got a teacher's professional memoir. It's called Hidden Lessons, Growing Up on the Front Line of Teaching by Marine Begg. There's literally like no information about this book on Goodreads. I've got it as an ARC, and from reading the information on there on NetGalley, it's basically just a professional memoir of teaching. I think it covers from when she was like a new teacher for years, and then she leaves teaching and kind of looks back and reflects on things. It sounds very much like Let That Be a Lesson by Ryan Wilson, which I read recently and really enjoyed. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And I feel like September, inadvertently and on purpose, is like very sci-fi heavy. So I think this is going to be like a really nice like refresher, palate cleanser as a break during like, maybe mid-month, like just take a step back from all the sci-fi and the dystopian and all that, and just like take a breather. And yeah, I am actually really excited to read this one because I loved Let That Be a Lesson so much. Then heading back into sci-fi and going like proper sci-fi this time is Stolen Earth by J.T. Nicholas. Right, so I would normally, not long ago, would have said I'm not a spacey person. Like, I don't really like spacey stuff. However, I did read Illuminate and absolutely adored it. And obviously I'm sure most people have heard of Illuminate and know it's set in space. Plus, not long back, was it only like 2 months ago maybe, I read Screams from the Void by Ann Tibbetts, I think. That's off the top of my head. And oh my god, I absolutely love that book, and that was set in space as well. So I thought, do you know what, I'll give another space book a go, and I requested this ARC on NetGalley. So what it is about, let's think. Okay, so humanity now lives in space, not on Earth. There's been some kind of major climate changes that happened that meant that Earth was not, what's the word, inhospitable. So everyone lives in space, but there's some kind of like protective barrier around Earth that I can't figure out if it stops people getting in or stops. It can't be stopping people getting out, surely, because they're already out and living on space. I don't know. There's a barrier around the Earth that, for some reason, is like costing society or whoever, like ridiculous amounts of resources, both manpower, money, power as in like force fields and all that stuff. And so somehow some guy decides he's going to give a team of people a mission to break through that barrier, to head to Earth and to retrieve all these treasures. Don't know what they mean by treasures, whether it's resources or supplies or something, to take them back, and then he can like kind of sell them for lots of money or like power. I'm not very good at explaining this book because I'm not 100% sure what it's about, to be honest. And it just says that when this team arrive on Earth, they see that it's not exactly as they have always been told it is. Now, I am assuming from that they see that it's not as bad as they've been told it is, and that maybe humans can live there. I don't know. Obviously, something's going to happen. They're going to be in danger at some point, or else it wouldn't be exciting, the book. Yeah. Part of me's like, oh yeah, it was a good thing requesting this book and let's get excited about it. And the other part of me's like, oh, maybe it's going to be a little too spacey. Don't know. Anyway, I'm going to read it. And it fits with Sci-Fi September, so that's a bonus. And then I'm going to be reading The Annual Migration of Clouds by Premi Mohammed. For some reason, that title just doesn't properly stick in my head. I have to really like think about it before I say it. So this is another like post-apoc climate change disaster. I seem to be reading a lot of those this month. So climate changes have like just destroyed food supplies, industry, all sorts, and survivors are like quite scattered about. There isn't like a proper society, and as if that wasn't bad enough, there's also some kind of like a mold, I want to say, you know, like a fungus. That's it, fungus. That is parasitic and invades people's bodies. I don't. It must affect people's minds somehow when it's in the bodies, because it talks about the main character who is offered a chance to go on this mission that will help her set a family up for life and get them like this coveted place in a society that's doing really well and like is sort of like pre-disaster, you know, like they're doing really well, they've got some industries going and things like that, and she's trying to get a place in there for her and her family. And so she is torn between like staying behind and helping out with the group of survivors who rely on her, not sure why they rely on her when she's infected, I don't know, or going on this mission. But what it says is that she has to try and get people to put their trust in her, even though she can't always trust her own mind. So that sounds quite odd. But at 170 pages, it's actually quite short. So I don't know how they're going to fit all of that into such a short book, but I'm going to find out. Now then, I have only got 2 audiobooks planned for September. But obviously I'm going to read more than that or listen to more than that. But these are all that I've decided I definitely am going to. And the first one is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I literally know zero about this book. Zero. And this does not bode well, I don't think. But I have tried to read the synopsis a few times, And my brain just won't take it in. It's like I read it and my brain just goes blah, 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 blah. So I get to the end and I've still no idea what I've read or what it's about. This is the bit that just gets me every time. In Where the Crawdads Sing, Owens juxtaposes an exquisite ode to the natural world against a profound coming-of-age story and a haunting mystery. No, my brain just is like, what? Like, what? Don't know what it's about. Not a clue. It sounds like literary fiction, and I don't do very well with literary fiction. But right, so I am doing the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, and one of the prompts on there is to read a book that everybody seems to have read except from you. And I thought, well, every bugger and his dog was posting about Where the Crawdads Sing for like since it was released however long ago. I know it was like not that long ago. And everyone hypes it up. So I thought, do you know what, that'll work for that prompt. And I don't think I'll be able to just sit and read it. So I'm going to try the audiobook. I think I might be able to give it more of a chance that way. And hopefully I will enjoy it. Like I said, though, I don't even know what to expect. I have no idea what the story is about at all. And the second one is another book that I don't fully understand what I'm going into. And it's definitely not a book I would normally have read, but that's The Familiars by Stacey Halls. This is historical fiction. Let's just give that a moment to penetrate our minds, because yes, I did just say I am willingly going to listen to an audiobook that is historical fiction. Again, this is for a challenge. It's the 52 books challenge, can't remember the full title. Now the prompt on there is to read a book that is set before the 17th century, I think it says. This is set in the 17th century. That is as far back as I could go. Obviously there's a lot of books set before then, but I had absolute zero interest in any of them, and I don't want to force myself to read something purely for the sake of reading it that I've got zero interest in. Whereas with the Crawdads, I am intrigued to see what other people are hyped up about. So that's some interest. This one has got witchcraft in it, so I have some interest there as well. So we follow a woman called Fleetwood, and her and her husband, they've had children, but they've had girls. They want a boy so that he is an heir to the estate or something. But she finds some doctor's notes that said that she won't survive another pregnancy or another birth. So she comes across this woman who claims to be a midwife and claims that she will be able to help Fleetwood deliver the baby safely. However, this midwife is then shortly after accused of being a witch, and so Fleetwood, desperate to deliver her baby safely and not die, decides that she's going to have to try and prove the innocence of this midwife. And it's all kind of linked to the actual witch trials that happened back then. So it's kind of based on some of those stories. So I think it's actually going to be quite interesting. I just hope it's not, I don't know, I hope I don't get too stuck in the historical aspect and don't get into it as much. I don't know. Anyway, like I said, that's an audio book. So again, I probably will be giving it more of a chance than if I sat and read it and started reading oldie-timey, dry text. So yeah, so those are all that I've got planned for September. I feel a little like I just want September to be done because October is my birthday month. And I've decided that in October, sod the ARCS, sod any TBR challenges or anything. I am going to have my birthday month as just all my favourites. So I've got Christina Dolce's new book coming up, which I love her, and then I'm gonna try and fit in finish off a zombie series that I was reading. So yeah, October is just I cannot wait. It's gonna be heaven. but this month, I don't know, I feel like I might, what's the word? Like undervalue some of the stuff that I'm reading because I'm so excited for October. Does that make sense? I don't know. It feels a bit like that. Like I'm just like, yeah, come on, get going, and then I can get to October. But yeah, well, I'm excited for some of the books. It just feels a little overshadowed by next month. I don't know. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon in another video. Bye.